The teacup shattered against Jin's knuckles. He didn't flinch. Blood mixed with jasmine tea, dripping onto the mahogany table where 3 men had been sitting moments before. Now they were on their knees, foreheads pressed to wood, trembling. "You sold my shipment to the H-Wangs." Jin's voice was soft. That's when people knew to be afraid. "Boss, we can explain." The second teacup exploded against the wall. Jin stood, buttoning his black suit jacket with his uninjured hand. "Get out! You have 12 hours to return what you stole with interest. After that, I stop being generous." They scrambled out like roaches from light. Jin was alone again. Good. Alone was safe. Alone meant no one could betray you, use you, pretend to love you while counting your money. His mother had taught him that lesson when she sold him to his uncle at 7. His uncle reinforced it with cigarette burns and broken ribs until Jin was strong enough to break him instead. Now at 30, Jin controlled half of Seoul's underground. He had wealth, power, fear. He had everything except the ability to sleep through the night. The private room's door cracked open. His second-in-command, Minyu, poked his head in. "Boss, there's a situation." "Not now." "It's unusual. There's a woman in the main restaurant. She has a kid. They've been here 3 hours and she keeps ordering water, just water." Jin wiped the blood from his hand. "So?" "She keeps staring at the private room hallway, at your door specifically." Minyu paused. "And boss, the kid looks exactly like you did in those old photos." Jin's jaw tightened. "What?" "I'm serious. It's unsettling." 5 minutes later, Jin stood in the shadows of the restaurant corridor, watching. The woman was beautiful in a way that made his chest constrict. Light brown skin that seemed to glow under the soft lighting, natural hair pulled into a high puff, wearing a faded denim jacket that had seen better years. But it was her eyes that caught him, dark, alert, scanning the room like a soldier in hostile territory. The boy sat beside her, small for 6, drawing on a napkin with a crayon some sympathetic server must have given him. His features were a perfect blend of his mother's warmth and something else, something sharper, Korean. Jin's stomach dropped. No, impossible. He'd been careful, always, every woman, every transaction, because that's what they were, transactions. He'd made sure there were no loose ends, no consequences. He watched the woman check her phone, then the door, then back to her son. Her leg bounced with nervous energy. She was waiting for someone. For him. Jin pulled back into the shadows as a server approached their table. The woman ordered another water, smiling apologetically. The smile didn't reach her eyes. "Should I have them removed?" Minyu whispered. "No," Jin straightened his cufflinks. "I'll handle this." He crossed the restaurant floor with measured steps. Conversations dimmed around him. They always did. People recognized danger even when it wore expensive suits. The woman's head snapped up when his shadow fell across their table. Her eyes widened, just slightly, before her expression locked down into something unreadable. "You've been waiting for me." It wasn't a question. She stood slowly, positioning herself between Jin and the boy. "We need to talk." "I don't know you." "Yes, you do." Her accent was American with something else underneath. African maybe. "Seoul National University. 7 years ago, you were studying business. I was there on exchange for." "I remember." The lie came easily. He remembered nothing. Those years were a blur of anger, ambition, and too much soju. "What do you want?" "Not here." She glanced at the boy, who had stopped drawing and was watching them with eyes too intelligent for 6. "Somewhere private." Jin should have said no. Should have had them escorted out, investigated, dealt with through proper channels. Instead, he found himself nodding toward the private rooms. Minyu's expression was screaming, "What are you doing?" Jin ignored it. The boy stood, gathering his drawings carefully. Up close, the resemblance was impossible to deny. Same sharp jawline, same intense gaze, same small scar above the left eyebrow that Jin had gotten at 8 when... "I'm a de," the boy said suddenly, extending his hand like a tiny businessman. Jin stared at the small hand. When was the last time anyone had offered to touch him voluntarily, without fear or calculation behind it? He shook it. The boy's grip was surprisingly firm. "I'm Jin." "I know," Ade said. "Mommy has a picture of you. You're my." "Ade," the woman's voice was sharp. "Not yet." They walked to the private room in silence. Jin was aware of every eye in the restaurant tracking them, every whisper starting to circulate. By tomorrow, the entire organization would be speculating. Inside the room, the woman, he still didn't know her name, positioned Ade in a chair with his crayons. "Stay here, baby. Draw something nice." "Okay, Mommy." The boy seemed unnaturally calm for the situation. She turned to Jin, and suddenly there was steel in her voice. "My name is Amira. 7 years ago, we met at a university party. You were drunk, angry about something. We talked all night, and then I don't remember." "I know, you wouldn't." She pulled out her phone, scrolled through photos. "But here's what you need to know. I went back to America pregnant. I didn't tell you because you made it very clear that night that you didn't do relationships, didn't want family, didn't want anyone close. So I raised Ade alone." Jin's hands clenched. "Then why are you here now?" Amira's composure cracked, just for a second. Fear flashed across her face. "Because someone is trying to kill us." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. 3 weeks ago, men came to our apartment in Brooklyn. They spoke Korean. They had guns. They asked where you were, if I had any way to contact you. When I said no, they said they'd be back. Her voice shook. "They burned our building down 2 days later. We barely got out." "Who were they?" "I don't know, but they knew about Ade. They knew about you." Amira stepped closer, desperate now. "I had nowhere else to go. I used every penny I had to get us here. I've been trying to find you for 3 weeks and—" A phone rang. Not hers, not Jin's. It was coming from Ade's pocket. The boy pulled out a cheap burner phone, staring at it in confusion. "Mommy, I don't." Amira snatched it, face draining of color. "This isn't his. Someone put this on him, in the restaurant just now." The phone kept ringing. Jin took it from her, every instinct screaming. He answered, saying nothing. A distorted voice crackled through. "Hello, Jin. Cute kid. It'd be a shame if he disappeared like your brother did." The line went dead. Jin's blood turned to ice. His brother. No one knew about his brother. No one except... The window exploded inward. Jin moved on instinct, throwing himself over Ade as glass erupted across the room. Amira hit the floor, covering her head. The boy didn't scream, another thing that was wrong, unnatural for a 6-year-old. Silence, no gunfire, no secondary attack. Jin lifted his head carefully. The window was destroyed, but there was no shooter, just a brick wrapped in paper, sitting in a pool of glass shards. "Stay down," he commanded, moving toward it. Minyu burst through the door, gun drawn, 2 more men behind him. "Boss." "Secure the perimeter. Find who threw this. I want traffic cameras, street footage, everything within a 3-block radius. Now." They scattered. Jin unwrapped the paper from the brick with steady hands, though his pulse hammered against his ribs. "The Park family owes debts. Blood debts. The son will pay what the father stole." Underneath, a photo. Faded, old. 2 boys, maybe 8 and 5, standing in front of a small house. Jin recognized himself immediately. The black eye, the too-thin frame, the defiant glare. His younger brother Yi stood beside him, grinning despite missing front teeth. Yi, who had vanished 15 years ago, who Jin had searched for until the trail went cold in Busan, who he'd assumed was dead because hopping otherwise would have destroyed him. "Jin," Amira's voice pulled him back. She was sitting up, Ade clutched against her chest. "What does it say?" He crumpled the paper before she could see. "Nothing that concerns you." "Bullshit." She stood, brushing glass from her hair. A thin cut on her cheek was bleeding. "Everything concerns us now. We're being hunted because of you." The accusation hit harder than it should have. She was right. This was his fault. His past, his choices, his enemies. Ade wriggled free from his mother's grip, walking toward Jin with careful steps around the glass. He tugged on Jin's sleeve. Are you scared? The boy asked. Jin looked down at this small person, this impossible consequence of a night he couldn't remember. No. You're lying. Your hands are shaking. Smart kid, too smart. Jin forced his hands still. You should be more worried about yourself. I'm not scared either. Adez's voice was matter of fact. Mommy says I'm brave like my dad. Are you my dad? The room seemed to hold its breath. Amira stepped forward quickly. Adez, we talked about. Yes, the word left Jin's mouth before he could stop it. Amira froze. Adez's face split into a smile that made something in Jin's chest crack open. I knew it, Adez said. You have the same angry face as me. Despite everything, Jin almost laughed. Almost. Minyu returned, expression grim. Boss, we have a problem. 3 bodies in the alley behind the restaurant. H-Wang crew. Throats cut less than 20 minutes ago. Jin's mind raced. The H-Wangs, the same family his traders had sold his shipment to. This was a message. Someone was tying up loose ends, creating chaos, painting Jin as the common denominator. There's more, Minyu continued, glancing at Amira and Adez. We found this on one of them. He held out another photo. This time it was recent. Amira and Adez at Incheon Airport 3 weeks ago. Someone had been watching them from the moment they landed. Get them out of here, Jin ordered. Take them to the safe house in Gangnam, full security detail. No, Amira's voice was firm. We're not going anywhere without answers. Who's after us? What debt? What father? Jin met her eyes. She deserved the truth, even if it burned. My father was a thief and a coward who stole from the wrong people before he drank himself to death. My mother sold me to my uncle to settle those debts. I killed my uncle when I was 16 and took everything he had. I've spent 14 years building an empire on top of their graves. He paused. Apparently, someone thinks the debts aren't settled. Your brother, Amira said quietly. The voice on the phone mentioned him. My brother disappeared 15 years ago. I thought he was dead. But he's not. She pulled Adez closer. They have him, don't they? That's the leverage. Jin didn't answer. Couldn't. Because if Yi was alive, if he'd been alive this whole time, suffering while Jin built his empire. His phone buzzed. A video file from an unknown number. Jin's finger hovered over it. Every instinct screamed trap, but he had to know. He pressed play. The footage was grainy, shot in a dark room. A man sat bound to a chair, head hanging, face obscured. He looked thin, broken. The camera zoomed in slowly. When the man lifted his head, Jin's world tilted. Yi, older, scarred, barely recognizable, but alive. Hello, big brother. Yi's voice was hoarse, damaged. Been a while, hasn't it? 15 years in a cage. 15 years wondering when you'd come for me. His laugh was bitter. But you didn't, did you? Too busy playing king. The camera shifted. A figure stepped into frame, face hidden in shadows. You always were selfish, Jin. The figure spoke in Korean, voice digitally altered. Taking everything, your uncle's empire, your brother's freedom, your son's chance at a normal life. What do you want? Jin spoke to the phone as if they could hear him. As if answering, the figure continued. You have 72 hours to bring me what your father stole 20 years ago, the original ledger. The one that proves where the bodies are buried, whose hands are dirty, which politicians bowed to which criminals. You know where it is. You've always known. Jin's blood ran cold. The ledger. His father's insurance policy, hidden before his death. Jin had searched for it as a teenager, found nothing. Eventually, he'd assumed it was a myth. 72 hours, the voice repeated. Or the boy learns what it's like to be an orphan, and your brother finally dies properly this time. The video cut to black. Adez's small voice broke the silence. Mommy, why is the man crying? Jin touched his face. Wet, he was crying. Amira's expression shifted from anger to something softer. She reached out, hesitated, then placed her hand over his. We'll figure this out. You should leave Korea. Tonight, I'll arrange papers, money. Stop, her grip tightened. Adez deserves to know his father, and your brother deserves to be saved. We're not running. You don't understand what you're asking. I understand perfectly. Amira's eyes blazed. I spent 6 years raising our son alone, working 3 jobs, wondering if I made the right choice not telling you. I came here to protect him, but maybe I also came because I remembered the man I met 7 years ago. The one who talked about his little brother like he was the only good thing in a terrible life. The one who cried because he felt guilty for wanting more than survival. Jin stared at her. He didn't remember that night, but he wanted to. God, he wanted to. Minyu cleared his throat. Boss, we need to move. Every organization in Seoul will have heard about the window by now. This location is compromised. Jin nodded slowly. Fine, we go to the Gangnam house, but tomorrow I hunt. We hunt, Amira corrected. You're not. We hunt, she repeated, steel in her voice. Because whoever's doing this made a mistake. They threatened my son, and I'm from Brooklyn, Jin. We don't run from fights. Despite everything, Jin felt something unfamiliar warm his chest. Hope, maybe, or fear, or both. Ade tugged both their sleeves. Can we get food first? I'm really hungry. Amira laughed sharp, almost hysterical. Jin found himself smiling, truly smiling for the first time in years. Yes, he said, we can get food. They left through the kitchen exit, surrounded by Jin's guards. The night air was cold, sharp with the promise of rain. Jin's phone buzzed again. Another message. P.S. Your mother says hello. She's been very helpful. His mother, alive. After all these years of thinking she was gone, disappeared beyond reach. She'd betrayed him once. Of course she was involved in this. Jin, Amira noticed his expression. What is it? He pocketed the phone. Everything just got much more complicated. The Gangnam safe house was a penthouse disguised as a startup office. Exposed brick, modern furniture, computers humming in every corner. Nothing that screamed Mafia headquarters. That was intentional. Ade fell asleep within minutes of arriving, curled on a leather couch with his jacket as a blanket. Amira stood over him, stroking his hair with a tenderness that made Jin look away. He hasn't slept well in weeks, she said quietly. Nightmares, he keeps dreaming about fire. Jin poured himself whiskey, didn't offer her any. Kids are resilient. Don't do that. She turned to face him. Don't pretend you don't care. I saw your face when that video played. You don't know what you saw. I saw someone human. Amira moved closer, studying him like a puzzle. 7 years ago, you told me about your brother, how you'd sneak him extra food when your uncle was drunk, how you took beatings meant for him. You said his laugh was the only thing that made you want to survive. Jin's fingers tightened on the glass. I don't remember saying that. You were sober by then. It was 4 a.m. and we were watching the sunrise from the library roof. You kissed me like you were drowning and I was air. Her voice dropped. And then you left before I woke up. No note, no number, nothing. That's who I am. I take what I want and disappear. Is that what you're doing now, with Ade? The question hit like a blade between ribs. I never wanted children. Neither did I. Amira's laugh was sharp. I was 22 in a foreign country, barely scraping by. When I found out I was pregnant, I sat in a clinic for 3 hours trying to decide. But then he kicked, and I thought, maybe this is my chance to build something good, something that doesn't disappear. Jin finally met her eyes. I'm not good, Amira. Everything I touch turns to blood and ash. Then it's lucky Ade and I are fireproof. Before he could respond, Minyu entered with a laptop. Boss, we've been analyzing the attack patterns. It's sophisticated. Whoever's orchestrating this has inside knowledge of your operations. They knew about the H-Wang deal, about your usual restaurant schedule, about the safe house locations we didn't use. A mole, Jin's voice went cold. Maybe, or someone who's been watching for years. Minyu pulled up surveillance footage. I've been digging into your father's old associates. Most are dead, but 3 are still active in the underworld. One name keeps appearing. The screen showed a woman in her 60s, elegant in the way vipers are elegant. Sharp features, designer clothes, eyes like chips of ice. Jin's mother. Park Seo-yeon, Minyu continued. She's been living in Busan under a different name, runs a high-end antiquities smuggling operation. But here's what's interesting. 6 months ago, she started making inquiries about your father's old business, the ledger specifically. How do you know this? I have a contact in Busan PD. Apparently, your mother's been bribing officials for access to evidence lockers from cases involving your father. She's looking for something. Amira leaned over the laptop. Could she have your brother? My mother wouldn't keep Yi alive out of sentiment, Jin said flatly. If she has him, he's leverage, which means she's working for someone or planning something bigger. His phone buzzed. Another unknown number, but this time a voice call. Jin answered on speaker. My beautiful son. His mother's voice was silk over steel. I've missed you. Where is he? Jin's voice was lethal calm. Where's Yi? Safe, for now. Seoyeon's tone was almost playful. I hear you have a family now. How unexpected. You swore you'd never repeat my mistakes. Cut the theatrics. What do you want? The same thing I've always wanted, survival. Your father made promises before he died. Promises to very dangerous people. The ledger proves those promises were lies. Names of politicians he claimed to control, routes he swore were secure, money he said he'd laundered but actually stole. She paused. Those people want proof they weren't fools, and they want compensation. So you sold out your own sons. I'm giving you a chance to save yourself. Find the ledger. Deliver it. You, Yi, and your new little family all get to live. Amira stepped closer to the phone. Why should we believe you'll honor that deal? Silence. Then Seoyeon laughed. Ah, the American woman. Brooklyn-born. I can hear it in your voice. Tell me, dear, what's it like raising a child alone, wondering if you made the right choice, if the father would care, if he'd be angry, if he'd try to take the boy away? How do you? I've been watching you since you landed. Those men in Brooklyn, mine. I needed to see if the boy was real, if you'd come running to Jin when threatened. You did. So predictable, love. The word dripped with mockery. You think you know my son? You spent one night with him. I carried him for 9 months and still couldn't figure out if he was worth keeping. Jin's jaw clenched so hard Amira heard teeth grinding. 48 hours now, Seoyeon said. I've decided to accelerate the timeline. Find the ledger, bring it to the old family house in Gwangju. Come alone or your brother loses pieces. I don't know where the ledger is. Yes, you do. You've always known. Check the place where monsters are born. The line went dead. Amira turned to Jin. What does that mean, where monsters are born? Jin's face had gone pale. The basement, where my uncle kept me locked up for 2 years, where his voice cracked. I burned that house down when I killed him. There's nothing left. Maybe there is. Minyu pulled up property records. The house was never demolished. Too many legal complications with your uncle's estate. It's been sitting empty for 14 years, condemned but standing. Jin's hands trembled. He gripped the edge of the desk to steady them. I can't go back there. You have to, Amira said gently. For Yi, for Ade. You don't understand what happened in that basement. So tell me. For a long moment, Jin said nothing. Then, my uncle believed pain made you stronger. Every mistake, every moment of weakness, he'd lock me in the dark for days. No food, no water. Sometimes he'd come down with his cigarettes, his belt, He stopped, breathing hard. Yi never saw the worst of it, I made sure. I took everything so he wouldn't have to. Amira's eyes glistened. You were a child. I was a survivor, there's a difference. Jin straightened, walls slamming back into place. We leave in 2 hours. Minyu, prepare a team. Boss, this is obviously a trap. I know, prepare anyway. Minyu left. Amira caught Jin's arm before he could follow. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. Ade stays here with guards, but I'm coming. You're going to need backup, and I'm guessing you don't fully trust your own men right now if there's a mole. You have no training. She pulled up her sleeve, revealing a scar that ran from wrist to elbow. When Ade was 3, someone tried to rob us at knife point. I put him in the hospital. Her smile was sharp. I'm not helpless, Jin, and I've spent 6 years protecting our son alone. I'm not stopping now. Jin studied her, really looked at her. Amira wasn't fragile or naive. She was a fighter who'd been fighting quietly, without recognition, without help. She was stronger than half his crew. Fine, he conceded, but you follow my lead, no heroics. Same to you. They stared at each other, tension crackling. Then Adez's sleepy voice broke the moment. Are you guys gonna kiss? They jumped apart. The boy sat up, rubbing his eyes. On TV, when people look at each other like that, they always kiss. Amira's face heated. Adez, that's not, we're not. I think they should kiss, Adez told Minyu, who had returned and was trying not to smile. Don't you think so? I think I need to check the perimeter, Minyu said diplomatically, escaping. Jin knelt beside the couch, eye level with his son. Adez, I need to go somewhere dangerous. I need you to stay here and be brave. Can you do that? Will you come back? The question was simple. The answer wasn't. I promise to try. That's not a promise, Adez said seriously. That's a maybe. You're right. Jin felt that crack in his chest widen. Then I promise I will come back, because you and your mother deserve better than maybe. Adez threw his arms around Jin's neck. The hug was unexpected, fierce, complete trust. Jin's arms came up slowly, awkwardly, until he was holding this small person like something precious. When Adez pulled back, he pressed something into Jin's palm. A crayon drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands. Labels in shaky handwriting. Mommy, ADE, Daddy. For luck, Adez whispered. Jin pocketed the drawing like it was made of gold. 20 minutes later, they were armed and moving. Jin gave final instructions to the guards protecting Adez. Amira kissed their son goodbye, whispering promises she might not be able to keep. In the car, Jin's phone buzzed one final time. A photo, Yi beaten worse than before, and a message. Tick-tock, big brother. Time to face your demons. Jin showed Amira. Her hand found his in the dark. We'll get him, she said. And if we don't, then we die trying, together. Jin looked at their intertwined fingers, hers warm and alive, his cold and scarred. Together, he repeated, testing the word. It felt like hope. It felt terrifying. The car sped toward Gwangju, toward the House of Nightmares, toward whatever waited in the dark.